What is court diversion? Court diversion is a voluntary program that helps young people and adults take responsibility for their unlawful actions while keeping them out of the formal court system and potentially having a criminal record. The court diversion process, which follows a restorative justice approach, deters future unlawful behavior and encourages active accountability. By active accountability, we mean that participants help decide how they will repair the harm they've done. Through this process, people can really learn from the experience, reflect on the underlying circumstance of their offense, and are less likely to get into trouble again with the law. And court diversion is effective. Over 80% of people who successfully complete the program don't reoffend. The state's attorney conducts a screening process to decide whether to refer someone to diversion. Why should you choose court diversion? A key benefit of court diversion is that after successful completion, a person does not have a criminal conviction record. If someone is found guilty of charges in criminal court, their criminal record may limit the ability to get certain jobs, college financial aid, public housing, or to travel outside the U.S. Another benefit is that when the offender discusses with the victim and community members the incident that led to the charge, he or she helps to decide how to make things right. People who are involved in deciding how to repair the harm they are usually more committed to following through with their diversion contract. Often diversion participants end up connected with resources in the community and create lasting and supportive relationships. How it works. Each county's court diversion program can do things a little differently, but let's take a hypothetical case to explain how it works. Court diversion can be appropriate when a person is charged with something like unlawful mischief, stolen property, or unlawful trespass. Offenses such as underage marijuana possession or underage drinking have their own special diversion process called YSASP, Youth Substance Abuse Safety Program. We'll use a case involving property damage to describe the process. Let's say a teen boy, Joe, breaks some windows of a local store with a rock, and law enforcement is called. He is caught and cited for unlawful mischief. The officer's citation given at the scene will have a date to appear in court and state the law that was broken. Joe shows up at the court thinking he will appear before the judge, but behind the scenes the state's attorney has been deciding which cases to refer to court diversion. A court diversion case manager will be at court and meet with Joe and explain the program. If Joe feels he is falsely accused, the case manager will encourage him to go to court. The court diversion program only accepts cases where the offender accepts responsibility for their actions. If he decides to participate, and with a legal guardian if under 18, they set a time for a more formal meeting with the case manager. At that meeting, the case manager will gather more information. What led to this offense? What factors in Joe's life contributed to it? What might motivate him to make more positive life choices? The case manager is helping Joe understand the ways his actions affected others and how to make amends for what he did. The case manager or victim liaison will also contact the victim, in this case the store owners, to learn more about how the crime affected them and invite them to participate in the process to the degree they want. If the case manager recommends continuing and Joe wants to participate, the case manager will typically ask Joe to think about 3 questions. Who was affected? How were they affected? And what needs to be done to repair the harm? Then Joe will meet with a restorative panel. What is a restorative panel? The restorative panel is a group of trained community volunteers who meet with diversion participant Joe. The case manager will also be at the meeting. The restorative panel's goal is to learn about the crime from the perspective of both those affected and Joe and facilitate an appropriate way to hold Joe accountable and meet the victim's needs. When the participant is under 18, a legal guardian will bring the participant to the meeting, provide input, and may also sit at the table. The volunteers try to involve the participant in a way that doesn't feel like a trial. Diversion is a confidential program. Diversion staff and volunteers may not share information they learn with anyone unless the participant gives them permission to do so. There are 3 stages to the first meeting with the restorative panel. The first stage is to get to know the person and learning about the offense in their own words. In the second stage, there is input from the victim of the crime. The victim of the crime can choose to participate in several ways, such as by submitting a written impact statement, in a separate face-to-face meeting with the participant in a restorative process facilitated by staff, or by attending the restorative panel meeting and participating in creating the contract. In the third stage of the meeting, the panel and Joe collaborate to shape the contract. What is a contract? The contract is a list of things that have to be done in order to successfully complete the program. The contract is tailored to the individual, the offense, and the people affected by it, and may include several elements such as written essay or creative project that involves reflecting about what happened and how people were affected, apologies to people affected, meeting with a counselor, community service for a non-profit organization to address harms caused to the community, paying back the victim, restitution. Joe leaves the restorative panel meeting with a printed contract that both he and the court diversion members have signed. If Joe initiates steps to take responsibility before meeting with the panel, that work will be included in the contract as a completed item. The length of time it takes to complete the contract varies. Many people finish within a few months. It is the participant's responsibility to let the case manager know when each step is completed, and case managers are always available for guidance. Sometimes the harm a person has caused is damage to a relationship, so a participant may come up with ways to rebuild trust. For example, Joe could do some community service at a nonprofit with his mom as a way to work on rebuilding the relationship while providing a service that benefits the community. What happens next? When all contract requirements have been fulfilled and the program fee has been paid, Joe has successfully completed the program. When the contract's complete, the court diversion program then informs the state's attorney and the case is dismissed by the court. If Joe doesn't get into any other trouble with the law, the court will order the case to be expunged 2 years later. If the contract is not completed, the case will be returned to the state's attorney to be prosecuted. The person will then need to go to court for the original charge and may enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Like most people who do court diversion, Joe did complete his contract. He took responsibility for his actions, and the victims had a say in how to repair the harm. Court diversion has helped Joe to move forward in a positive direction. To learn more about court diversion, please visit www.vtcourtdiversion.org.